Hey, howdy folks, Rampage here. We're here to talk about Raw for August 8th, 2016. Okay folks, let's take a look at Raw this week and see what happened. We start off the show, surprisingly to me, is we have Enzo and Cass opening the show. This is 2 weeks in a row. Enzo has been one of the first people in the opening segment. I think that's rad. I think he's got the mic skills to pull it off and get the crowd fired up, so it's good to see him in that role. Him and Enzo, or him and Big Cass come out, and they're talking about last week, about him hitting on Sasha Banks, how you doing? Which brings out Jericho, because Jericho ruined it. And Jericho says, but you know what? You got your backup, I got my backup. Brings out Kevin Owens, which I think is super rad. There was a little series of them working together previously, and just like the little backstage vignettes of Kevin Owens and Jericho were amazing. So I hope we get more of those. And basically, it's like, hey, you got my back? You got my back? I got your back. You got my back? Yeah. All that kind of stuff. A few innuendos from Enzo and Big Cass. Jericho stares down Big Cass and basically says, I challenge you to a fight. And he's like, but I mean Enzo, not you. And we get our first match of the evening. We have Jericho versus Enzo Amore. And this is a fun match. Like, it's Enzo being scrappy-doo and bouncing all over the place, and Jericho sort of putting him in his place, then losing him, and then back and forth, back and forth. The end comes when Enzo's outside the ring, going into the ring. Owens hooks the foot, which allows the distraction, which Jericho hits the code breaker. And instead of letting him take the pinfall, the tainted pinfall, Cass actually slides into the ring and hits the big boot on Jericho for the DQ. So I like that. And we actually have they set up for an additional match for SummerSlam, being Enzo and Big Cass to face Jericho and Kevin Owens, which could be really cool. I dig that combination. I'm worried the SummerSlam card is getting a bit crowded at this point, but we'll have to wait and see. From there, we have Foley backstage talking to Steph, who assures her that he's using the iPad when we can all see he has the clipboard. Sasha Banks shows up, says that she doesn't want to, well, she's going to face Charlotte at SummerSlam, but she knows it's not going to be a one-on-one match, so just make it a handicap match. And Foley says he'll do her one better. That she can face Dana Brooke tonight, and if she wins, Dana Brooke's barred from ringside. If she loses, she's stuck in a handicap match. Which is sort of a weird thing to me overall. I get the purpose of the segment. I get setting up the match to ban Dana Brooke from ringside. And I also get that Sasha Banks is not a character that says, I can't do something, I need help. So she basically says, I'm going to take on the world, and then Foley steps in to sort of adjust reality accordingly. But I don't like that she comes in with what she wants. And the way she would get what she wants is to lose the match. There's a little bit of weirdness there that I didn't like. From there, we have Braun Strowman taking on Jorel Nelson, who got about 2 seconds of promo time of being scared into silence, and then Braun Strowman proceeds to manhandle him and hits the reverse chokeslam and picks up the pinfall again. I think we're getting the idea of who Braun Strowman is at this point. I'd like to see him face someone who is not enhancement talent, but I do like that we have enhancement talent on Raw, that we have people that are getting their names out there and being seen on TV that they wouldn't otherwise be. After that, we have Puff Daddy backstage with Mick Foley and the New Day. He's there to talk about curating the soundtrack for WWE 2K17. Pretty cool. And he's there to inquire about Big E's nuts after last week the club basically introduced him to the ring post. And New Day basically says, we're not allowed to talk about that on TV. That's right, folks. They brought Puff Daddy on Raw to ask about Big E's nuts. You just think about that for a few minutes. From there, we have Darren Young taking on Titus O'Neil. Back and forth match. In the end, Darren Young slides off the back, rolls up Titus from behind, and hooks the tights and gets the pinfall. However, Bob Backlund happened to be looking the other way for some reason at the time, so he doesn't realize that Darren Young cheated, so therefore it's not duplicitous, therefore he's okay with it, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if video replays are actually a thing again, because if they are, then Bob Backlund's probably going to spaz out again, and we'll see what happens. From there, Seth Rollins comes out. He cuts a promo calling Finn Balor arrogant, incompetent, and just runs him up and down for all the things that actually Seth Rollins is, which I thought was pretty cool. I like the fact that he's like, these are all your bad traits. It's like, look in a mirror. I think you're describing yourself. But it was pretty cool. And he does run down the, okay, well, you're Finn Balor, so you're literally the Demon King. To which he's like, that's like me naming myself Rambo Apocalypse. Which I totally think needs to be his character when he, when something bad happens to him at some point and he loses creative control over something. Someone needs to turn him into Rambo Apocalypse. That has to happen. After that, we have Cesaro taking on Sheamus. I know Cesaro wins via roll-up. I can't tell you about the match. I honestly fell asleep watching it, so I woke up to the end of the match. From there, we have a pretty cool promo about Orton and Lesnar. It goes into their OVW history of they were all there at the same time with Shelton Benjamin, John Cena, Batista, the two of them. And it sort of goes through the rivalry of that from Orton's perspective. And then they cut over to sort of Heyman with so what? They were there at the same time. I don't give a crap about that. It's basically Lesnar running him down that he doesn't matter. Interesting take on it. I get that we can't have them both dueling it out each week because different brands, and you also want to keep Lesnar built as the monster. And they are building the RKO as sort of the monster slayer. So it's like, okay, you know what? That one move might take him out, but can he manage to hit that move is going to be the story. From there, we have Dudley Boys taking on Neville and a mystery partner. That mystery partner turns out to be Sin Cara in the jet black, very Batman-esque attire. Neville and Sin Cara do defeat the Dudley Boys cleanly with the red arrow in the corner after a miscue from the Dudley Boys causing the double clothesline. I do like seeing the Dudley Boys helping put over new talent. However, a makeshift tag team, that makes me a little bit antsy. Neville and Sin Cara, I would assume, are going to be cornerstones of their cruiserweight division, and to have them defeat cleanly your most decorated tag team champions ever as a thrown together tag team seems weird, so I'm interested to see where that's going. After that, we have Lana and Rusev's wedding celebration, which I was trying to think of all the horrible things that could go wrong at a wedding. We have Eric Bischoff showing up as your officiant, like Chuck and Billy. We have Kane tombstoning the preacher. I was halfway expecting Dean Ambrose to show up in a leather jacket and roll footage of him drugging Lana and marrying her at a drive-thru in Vegas the weekend before. But no such luck there. It's basically Lana being Princess Lana, these are all the things I want, these are the things that are given to me, and then her being pouty when people are booing her and doing the what chants, Rusev getting angry about people disrespecting his wife, he's back to referring to her as property, which I don't like again, that's just weird. But then the person that comes out to interrupt it is Roman Reigns, who I forgot last week sort of showed up for the stare down with Rusev. So Reigns shows up and goes, hey, you know what? You didn't have a best man. So, you know what? Let me fill in, let me give a toast. And Rusev's like, no, you're not going to give a toast. And then he's like, well, fine, then let me challenge you for your title. He's like, I'm not going to do that either. He's like, okay, fine, well, you're going to listen to my toast. And he basically pours the champagne, drinks it, tosses one flute down, picks up another one, and proceeds to insult Rusev at this point. And Rusev sits there and takes it, which is really weird to me because, like, he's very much that hot-tempered, short-fused character. So I expect him at that point just to willy-nilly, like, kick Reigns' face in, and he doesn't. They do go back and forth a bit verbally, at which point they do get a little bit physical. Rusev tosses him in the corner. He tries to usher Lana away. Reigns then slams into Rusev, who then slams into Lana, who then face plants in the cake, in the glorious payoff of her now being covered in cake frosting. That was that segment. We do follow that up with Sasha Banks taking on Dana Brooke. I thought it was a fun back and forth match. Dana Brooke looks like she's back in full force. She's got the flip back again for her entrance, which I really enjoy. I do like the sort of power versus speed dynamic the two of them have together. In the end, Sasha Banks does come out on top. She actually hits the double knees in the corner when she's like laid out for the pinfall, which is interesting because I always thought that was a signature move, not really a match-ending move. But we'll take it. And with that, Dana Brooke is now barred from ringside during SummerSlam, during that match. And then we immediately cut to the Nia Jax promo. Just a little vignette running down who she is and what she's done. But just the placement of those two, I'm thinking that Charlotte takes Nia Jax under her wing as well, as additional hired muscle to assure her victory at SummerSlam. From there, we have the Finn Balor promo. It's weird because it's him backstage in some sort of a curtained area, and there's like he's sitting on like a stone dais on top of a cloth-covered platform. It really made me think of like the old Undertaker sketches when he first came out, with him sitting there hammering the nails, building the caskets. But it's basically him running down like the origins of his name and of like Celtic mythology, who Finn is, being the warrior king, who Balor is, who the demon is, and why Balor is significant, and how those come together to form his demon. It was interesting to see, but like the crowd loves Finn, and yes, sure, he's a little bit goofy on the mic in front of a crowd, but they eat that up because it makes him relatable. This was a little bit off-putting, so I'm waiting to see where they're going with it. Speaking of goofy, we then go to Dr. Gallows and Dr. Anderson, being Luke Gallows and Ken Anderson, backstage, with the lab coats on and the clipboards, both being doctors. Got a jar of hard-boiled eggs. They've definitely determined that Big E is suffering from a bad case of ring post-itis. And it goes on with Deacon Ball jokes for about 3 minutes. It's glorious. I won't even dare try to replicate it. It was just good. Watch it if you haven't. And they basically threaten to do the same thing to Kofi Kingston tonight. From there, we have Gallows taking on Kofi Kingston. Back and forth style match. In the end, you've got distraction on the outside. Kofi gets distracted. He gets face planted by Gallows for the win. At which point, the two of them try to drag him towards the ring post, but Xavier Woods does make the save, wielding the steel chair. So we still have 2 members of the New Day versus 2 members of the club. They're still set to head off at SummerSlam for the titles. After that, we have Goldust outside looking for R-Truth, trying to figure out, is he still hunting Pokemon? We don't know. He stumbles across the Mystery Machine, and Scooby-Doo. R-Truth's actually inside the Mystery Machine, says them about flies. weird back and forth. Hey, we're going to promote the fact there's a WWE Scooby-Doo crossover. Yay. To which point, Mick Foley brings Daniel Bryan out to talk about what happened, about Brock Lesnar, about Randy Orton, how they can work together. And it's basically Daniel Bryan taking shots at Foley for like 2 minutes. Foley finally calls him out on it. Bryan backs down a little bit, but not really, continues to jab him a little bit. To the point where Rusev shows up to defend Foley. At which point, Daniel Bryan's like, are you out here just to try to get out of your match? Because earlier that night, Foley did book Rusev versus Reigns for the US title. To which point, Rusev gets defensive. Cesaro then shows up because part of the stipulation on Cesaro versus Sheamus, so there's a rematch from last week, is if there's a definitive winner, they would have a future title shot. So Cesaro wants his shot at the US title. And Foley's like, fine, you can have your shot, you have it right now. Boom! We have a match. It's basically Rusev working over the shoulder of Cesaro for most of the match. Smart thing. I like it. We actually haven't seen anyone really target Cesaro's shoulder since he came back from his injury, so that was cool. What else? A lot of back and forth in the match. It's a really aggressive, angry side of Rusev, which I think works really well for him, even more so than usual. So working over the shoulder, trying to set up for the accolade. But Cesaro essentially keeps powering out. He finally gets Rusev in position, but Sheamus shows up. More back and forth distractions. In the end, Rusev does get the win, retains his US title, walking up the ramp to celebrate, gets speared by Roman Reigns because we have a feud going on. And the show ends with Rusev laid out and Roman Reigns standing tall atop the entrance ramp. And that's Raw for this week, folks. It was not my favorite episode. It was not a bad episode either. Little weirdness in there. But that's that. Any questions, any suggestions, please leave them in the comments down below. Please use the hashtag Rampage Reviews. Please share this on your social media channels. And we'll see you next time.